At some point, you have to start being very practical, okay? You reach a point where you're like, how do I streamline this whole dating process? How do I make it as painless as possible, waste the least amount of time as possible? When you're looking for something serious, you're gonna wanna look for certain kind of criteria and be pretty systematic about this kind of stuff. I was just so kind of burnt out and all these feelings of depression and just questioning things, just not feeling in alignment. Just really, it was such a nice release with that launch. I realized that now I wanted to relax and just kind of rethink things, at least for a couple of months. So I went to Mexico. I went back to Mexico for a couple of months because I was worried Toronto was going to be closed again. Wanted to change the scenery. It was the winter. I enjoyed Mexico. I wanted to properly stay there for some longer period of time, get a better sense for what it's like to maybe go there in the winters. So I went there, a couple of other friends joined around the same time, and it was really fucking cool. I felt really good for the first time in a year and a half or so. Especially after pandemic, after everything that had happened, I felt really good. I didn't work that much in Mexico. Part of me just really wanted to disconnect from everything. We partied a lot, we went out. Yeah, we went on some trips. I went on a bunch of dates, almost started dating this girl seriously there from New York, who turned out to be pretty crazy. Good thing I found out within a few weeks. But yeah, we had some epic adventures, epic times there. Food was amazing. But then, I decided that I wanted to come back. First of all, I can't take the hot weather for very long. Also, I was missing my apartment. I have a great apartment in Toronto. It's huge. It's in a good location. I felt like I needed more space. I wasn't in the biggest apartment in Mexico. I mean, I could have found a bigger apartment, but I didn't want to go through this whole search. I didn't want to stay in a tropical place. It's starting to get more and more hot. We were going into April. And I also started having some realizations, about what kind of environment I want to be in long term and what's important for me in that environment, what I want my lifestyle to look at. And also as far as your work routine goes, it's important for me, I need a certain kind of space and my setup to be ideal. I didn't want to stay. This is the kind of place, in my opinion, where you can be for a couple of months, but then you can't really be there for that long. There were elements that I didn't like that I found kind of annoying, and the weather was too hot. I was there with one of the friends had stayed, but then all my other friends were back here. And I think another big factor was I didn't enjoy the dating scene. In fact, I generally am not a fan of pursuing some kind of a dating life short term. This is again a whole other topic, but your best dating life can only be built somewhere that you're stationed in for some time, 6 months plus, right? Especially if you want to build something serious.
To clarify, first off, I'm talking about this current stage of my life and development, meaning pursuing some kind of short-term and or exotic romantic experiences could definitely be appropriate at certain points of your life, especially if you are learning and exploring. Having said that, I believe that to get more out of the experience, both pragmatically and developmentally, it is best to be in an environment where you can, 1, be challenged, 2, be inspired, 3, communicate with locals at least at a reasonably good level, 4, stay for 6+ months to leverage the power of momentum as things take time to develop, as it takes time for you to get settled in, to understand your environment, to build the right habits and processes, to get quality leads, to follow up with them, to see how things unfold with that. So all of that takes time. And in the process, you're also gaining momentum with the reference experiences themselves, allowing you to get more into a flow state and to test more, challenge the limits of what you think is possible more, etc., as opposed to getting distracted by a new environment and having to readjust and rebuild all that.
Your best dating life can only be built somewhere that you're like stationed in for some time, 6 months plus, right? Especially if you want to build something serious. And at that point, I was very open to finding something serious that is like a really, really good fit. Because after that last relationship, I had some realizations, and I was like, okay, I know exactly what can work for me and what will not work for me, what I want, what I don't want, what I will and will not stand for. And I will be very quick to screen things out, to kind of to make sure, to do my due diligence, to make sure in those, like, let's say first couple of months, to make sure that if this is not a good for me, I'm not staying in a relationship. And that's why, that crazy girl, like as soon as those red flags started from New York started popping up, I was like, all right, this is done. She actually ended up ending it. She showed me how crazy she was. She ended up ending it before I was already at that point where I'm like, all right, this is, sometimes when girls get very scared and they don't feel like they're in control, or they don't want to get hurt, they prematurely just end things and kind of project their own crazy narrative. Hey, what up? It's me again. Just having a cocktail here. But I wanted to quickly interrupt to, one, make sure you're paying attention, and two, to let you know that everything you're learning here is directly and indirectly related to building your dream dating life. And just overall a life that is healthy, win-win, and on your terms. Now, when you're done the video, I recommend you take a few minutes to go to the link below where you can watch a very entertaining and informative video on what steps you need to take to begin your very own transformation. If you're up for it, that is. I guess you first need to ask yourself, and pardon my French here, but do you want to fuck lots of hot poon, or do you want to fuck lots of hunt? As well as find love, discover the meaning of life, and become a self-developed, self-respecting man. Okay, end of pep talk. Back to the video. Go check out the link below when you're done, or I will personally call your mother and have her force you. So anyway, I was at that point where I was very open to something serious, knowing now exactly what I want. I still want to say open. I wasn't like actively going out and seeking it. My focus was still, figuring myself out and figuring out what I want to do in the business. There was still soul searching that was left. I was still on some level questioning whether I want to be in Toronto full time or not, or, spend 6 months in any given place. But anyway, I realized that, your dating life can't be as good if you're moving around. Not to mention, I wanted to be in an environment that is English speaking, like truly English speaking. For me, that's very important. And I knew that if I want to build something with someone, it's best that they're in the same city that I'm going to be in, right? Sure, could I have met someone in another Western city? If I'd gone to New York or LA or Berlin, but it would just complicate things, okay? And I wasn't even that sold on going to any of these cities. I was kind of like, let me go back to Toronto, make Toronto my hub, but then go away for like a couple of months here and there when I need a change of scenery. But otherwise, I'll be kind of continuing to build my life in Toronto. That'll be my hub, my friends, family, most of my network is there. I didn't want to be hopping around too much anymore. That was another realization that I had. I wanted to be, for the most part, in one place. And as far as dating again is concerned, Playa, you have this problem. It's a medium-sized city, and on top of that, you don't have a lot of girls that speak English. You've got the locals, the Mexicans. You've got a lot of these beautiful Argentinian girls, but a lot of them don't speak English. And then you have a bunch of Westerners, Europeans, and North Americans who are, some of them are living there, some of them are passing through. Honestly, I realized that dealing with travelers is really, really annoying. Look, travelers, they're logistically constrained. They're often thinking about their next move, or, hey, my sister is like coming to meet me in 2 days, or I'm here for 2 days and I'm going to Tulum. It's just a logistical nightmare. They're with friends. They can't leave their friends. It's annoying. It's not worth it. I'm also a fan of these like one night stands. Like, sure, if it happens organically, cool. But otherwise, like, I prefer to kind of see a girl on an ongoing basis, even if it's in a casual sense. And so dealing with travelers is annoying. Then you've got all the Spanish speakers. So you're dealing with like a small, and then, yeah, you're dealing with a small percentage of people who actually live there. But then on top of that, they don't necessarily all see you. Like, girls are very wary of someone who's not going to be there for a long time. Like, if you're only there for a couple of months, it's like, okay, where is this going to go? Like, of course, they're not going to completely write you off right away. They might poke a little deeper. Sure, this can become a long distance thing, or we can figure out. But like, it adds a layer of complexity, you know? Like, I remember one girl was like, she was American, but she was there, and she's like, yeah, like, I'm not going to go to Canada. I want to stay in Mexico. I would not want to stay in Mexico. And so, like, we realized, like, there's no point there. At some point, you have to start being very practical, okay? You reach a point where you're like, how do I streamline this whole dating process? How do I make it as painless as possible, waste the least amount of time as possible, my own time, their time? When you're looking for something serious, you're gonna want to, like, you know, look for certain kind of criteria and be pretty systematic about this kind of stuff. And especially girls, they're very in tune with it, because guys are more open to this whole idea of casual. Girls are not as much. So basically you're dealing with the small pool. Oh yeah, and on top of that, you have all these, like, you know, hippie people there that are like there, and they just, like, you know, they want to make friends, or just in general, I found in Playa, whether it's these hippie people that are traveling through and all that. Not to take away from the whole realm of spirituality, that's very important, but it's kind of a cliche in Tulum and in Playa. You have all these people that are just like a cliche of a spiritual person. So you have all these people that just want to kind of like befriend you and connect with you and like blah, blah, blah. And so at some point you have to, like, but they're not in the headspace. You have people that are not necessarily in the headspace. So women are a lot more sensitive to being sexual, to having a sexual experience with you if they're not in the right headspace. Men too, to a certain degree, but we all know it's a lot easier for men to be physical, right? They just have to be more or less turned on.
This is a generalization. Everyone lies on the sociosexual spectrum, and factors such as age, overstimulation, circumstances, and mental health issues can also affect one's willingness to engage in more casual sexual relationships. Additionally, cultural background, personal values, and past experiences play significant roles in shaping an individual's sociosexual orientation and behavior.
For women, when they're not in the headspace to date and to be intimate, like, it's not going to happen for the most part. Sometimes they do, but then they regret it. It's not going to happen. And so that's something you have to be aware of. I'll talk more about that, how to kind of screen for that. There's a lot of people that put themselves out there, but they're not really available, or sometimes they just want to be friends, especially in a place like Playa. It's like, oh, you're a cool Westerner, I'm a Westerner, let's just connect, let's be friends, let's go out, right? Overall, I was not happy with the dating scene there, and that was another big reason that I wanted to be back in Toronto. So anyway, I came back April of 2022. I had decided, you know what, no, I'm going to stay in Toronto, and this will be my base. And then I'll take trips here and there, or like have longer stays. All right, man, thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying this content and that it really helps you make some moves in the right direction. Sincerely, because everything I teach, I have lived and breathed and contemplated ad nauseum. Unlike a bunch of these cookie cutter life coach clowns out there that regurgitate some shit they read in a book and call themselves experts. With that in mind, if you want to go deeper, if you want to really know what it takes to become the kind of guy that can confidently attract and manage relationships with quality women on your terms and in a way that is healthy and honest, no scummy or gimmicky shit here. And if you generally want to live a life of truth, freedom, love, courage, and adventure, then as Tom Cruise famously said in Jerry Maguire, help me help you, and go click the link below. there's a very entertaining and informative video that will shed some light on how you can get started. Do it, or you will forever perish into the dark abyss. But seriously, go check it out. Let's kickstart this journey of personal development together and help you reinvent yourself into a sex god.